Hercules got his first mission from his not-so-friendly cousin, King Eurystheus: take down the Nemean lion. So off he went on lion hunting. Along the way, he bumped into this cheeky lad who made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Bag the lion, buddy, and we'll throw Zeus one heck of a lion party. But if you flake out on us, well, let's just say it's my doom there. Armed with arrows and a heap of determination, Hercules went on the hunt. But when he met the lion, he soon realized this kitty had some serious style. His arrows bounced off that golden fur like rubber balls at a carnival game. After a fierce battle of brawn and brain, Hercules outwitted the lion, trapping it in its own lair and dealing the final blow with his club, then finishing it off with his bare hands. But the real struggle began when he attempted to skin the beast. Knife? No. Sharpened stone? Nada. Leave it to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, to swoop in with the tip. Use the lion's own claws, silly. Returning triumphant, Hercules shocked the city with the lion's hefty carcass draped over his shoulders. The lion's skin became more than just a trophy. It was a symbol of his strength and victory. Eurystheus, trembling in his royal boots, banished Hercules from the city walls, decreeing his labors be displayed outside for all to see. With a warning of even more epic challenges ahead, Hercules set off on his next quest, ready to face whatever mythical monsters dared cross his path. And so, our hero's journey continues, one labor at a time. So, Eurystheus, that sneaky cousin of Hercules, decides to up the ante and sends our hero off to deal with the Hydra, a monster straight out of your wildest nightmares. Picture this: a 9-headed water snake chilling in its swampy lair near Lerna, just waiting to cause some chaos. Now, Hercules, being the brave dude he is, knows he's up against a real tough nut to crack. He's not taking any chances, so before he even sets foot on his journey, he summons his trusty nephew Iolaus, the sidekick extraordinaire. Together, they're ready to take on whatever challenges come their way. Armed with his mighty sword and a plan to match, Hercules charges into battle. But here's the kicker: every time he chops off one of the Hydra's heads, 2 more grow back. Talk about a never-ending battle. With Iolaus by his side, they come up with a genius strategy. Hercules chops off the heads while Iolaus sears the neck stumps with a flaming torch. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? But wait, where does that irritating gigantic crab come from? Hera can't help but send a giant crab to lend a helping claw to the 9-headed Hydra. It comes out of the swamp and bites him on the foot. Unfortunately for the crab, Hercules wasn't in the mood for seafood that day and squashed it underfoot. Now back to the Hydra. After a fiery showdown, they managed to take down every head, except for one pesky immortal noggin. But Hercules isn't about to let this monster ruin his day. Oh no, he buries that final head under a giant rock, just to be sure. But here's where things take a dark turn. Turns out, the Hydra's blood is like the ultimate poison, so Hercules dips his arrows in it, thinking he's getting an edge in battle. Spoiler alert, it's a decision he'll come to regret later. And just when Hercules thinks he's aced his mission, Eurystheus throws a curveball, claiming it doesn't count because Iolaus helped out. Talk about a sore loser. But hey, who cares what Eurystheus thinks? Hercules still gets all the glory in the end. And that is how you slay a Hydra like a boss. Eurystheus had a new mission for Hercules. His challenge? Capture the elusive Cernician hind, a deer so fleet-footed, it made Speedy Gonzales look like a sloth in comparison. Now, this wasn't your average deer. Oh no. This golden beauty had some serious mojo. Legend had it that the golden hinds were practically immortal, with powers to heal. Plus, their blood was like kryptonite to the gods, making them the hottest commodity in the divine world. But wait, there's more. This deer wasn't just any old forest critter. It was the VIP guest of honor in Artemis's exclusive posse. Yep, the goddess of the hunt had dibs on this majestic creature, making Hercules' task a tad trickier. He couldn't just shoot it with his trusty bow and arrow. So, armed with determination and a sprinkle of cunning, Hercules embarked on a year-long quest to track down the Cernician hind. Through forests and fields, over mountains and valleys, he chased that deer like a man possessed, channeling his inner wildlife detective. Finally, in the verdant woodlands of Arcadia, Hercules spotted his quarry, chilling out like a deer in headlights. With the stealth of a ninja and the patience of a saint, he crept up behind the unsuspecting hind and nabbed it. But just as he was about to head back victorious, he bumped into none other than Apollo and Artemis. Artemis, the divine deer guardian, was none too pleased to see her precious pet in Hercules' clutches. After some serious explaining and a heartfelt apology, Heracles managed to smooth things over with the goddess, promising to let it free after his tasks finished. And so, Hercules made his triumphant return to Eurystheus, ready to tackle whatever challenge the taskmaster threw his way next. Because when it comes to epic quests and legendary adventures, there's no one quite like the mighty Hercules. As Hercules ventured on his fourth labor, he set his sights on the notorious Erymanthian boar, a massive, bad-tempered beast causing chaos in the countryside. But before he could wrangle the snorting menace, he made a pit stop at Pholus' pad, a centaur with surprisingly good manners. Now, Pholus was all about that hospitality game, treating Hercules like royalty. But when Hercules requested some vino to wash down the feast, little did he know he was popping open the centaur's stash of sacred wine. Cue the chaos. The sin of that divine drink drove the other centaurs bonkers, launching an all-out assault to snag a sip. In the midst of chaos, Hercules and Pholus fought off the wine-crazed centaurs. But tragedy struck when Pholus accidentally dropped an arrow dipped in Hydra's poison. Poor Pholus met his untimely demise, leaving Hercules to bury his fallen friend and soldier on in pursuit of the boar. With determination in his heart, Hercules tracked down the Erymanthian boar, bellowing like a madman. The startled swine scurried into a thicket, but Hercules wasn't about to let it slip away. Armed with spear and cunning, he poked and prodded until he trapped the beast in a net. With the boar in tow, Hercules dragged the thrashing boar back to Tiryns, ready to show off his prize to Eurystheus. But the sight of the monstrous creature struck fear into Eurystheus' heart, sending him scurrying into a storage jar like a scaredy cat, only peeking out to confirm Hercules' victory from a safe distance. In his next task, Eurystheus dropped a stinker on Hercules: clean up the Augean stables in one day. These stables were like the Mount Everest of dung, and Augeas, the king of Elis, was the proud owner. So Hercules, being the savvy hero he was, waltzed up to Augeas and laid down the terms. He'd get the job done in a jiffy for just a tiny chunk of Augeas' cattle. Augeas was all ears, but he had a hard time believing his luck. Nonetheless, he agreed, probably thinking Hercules had lost his marbles. Now, here's where the fun begins. Hercules didn't grab a shovel and start scooping. Oh no, that's not his style. He kicked things off by punching holes in the stable's walls, one on each side. Then, he got creative and dug trenches straight to the nearby rivers. With a flick of his wrist, he rerouted those rivers right through the stables. You can imagine what happened next. A river of horse poo gushed out the other end, leaving those stables sparkling clean. But Augeas turned into a total weasel. He refused to pay up, claiming he never agreed to any reward. Typical, right? So Hercules, being the wise guy he was, took the matter to court. And boy, did he have a trump card up his sleeve, Augeas' own son. The kid spilled the beans, confirming that his dad had promised Hercules a little something-something. The judge had no choice but to rule in Hercules' favor. Well, that didn't sit well with Augeas. He blew his top and kicked both his son and Hercules out of his kingdom. So, the son skipped town to chill with his aunts, and Hercules? He strutted back to Tiryns, probably with a smirk on his face, another labor crushed under his belt. In the next wild task, Hercules faces off against some seriously feathery fiends, the Stymphalian birds. These aren't your average chirpers. These bad boys have beaks of bronze, feathers sharper than a knight's sword, and, get this, poisonous poop. Talk about a crappy situation. So there's Hercules, scratching his head at Lake Stymphalus, trying to figure out how to shoo away these these bird-brained bullies. But fear not, because who should swoop in to save the day? None other than Athena, armed with a pair of custom-made bronze crotala, aka noisemakers on steroids. Crafted by Hephaestus himself, these clappers pack a serious punch. With a mountain at his back and the crotala in hand, Hercules lets loose a cacophony of clanging and banging, sending those birds scattering like feathers in a hurricane. Shields clash, crotala clang, and the birds take flight faster than Zeus can throw a lightning bolt. But Hercules is not done yet. With arrows as sharp as his wit, he picks off those pesky poultry one by one, turning this bird-brain battle into a feather-filled victory dance. Another labor down, another victory for our hero. Hercules found himself faced with yet another task assigned by the one and only Eurystheus, the Cretan bull. Now, let me tell you about this bull. It wasn't just any ordinary bull, it had a backstory, and it wasn't pretty. Minos, the big-shot king of Crete, had once promised the sea god Poseidon that he'd sacrifice whatever the god sent him from the sea. But when Poseidon sent this majestic bull, Minos thought it was too darn beautiful to chop up for a sacrifice. Instead, he shuffled it off to his herds and sacrificed another bull. Big mistake. Poseidon was steaming mad. He made the bull go berserk, tearing up everything in sight. And to make matters worse, he cursed Minos' wife, Pasiphae, making her fall head over heels in love with the bull. Yep, you heard that right. She ended up giving birth to a creature called the Minotaur, part man, part bull, all trouble. Minos had to lock that beastie up in a labyrinth and feed it unlucky folks from Athens every year. Talk about a family drama. Anyway, back to Hercules. He rolled up to Crete like a boss, wrestled that Cretan bull to the ground, and hauled it back to King Eurystheus, who promptly chickened out and set the bull free. Bad move, buddy. That bull went on a rampage, causing chaos wherever it went. Eventually, it ended up in Marathon, a city near Athens, where it met its match at the hands of a hero named Theseus. And that, my friends, is how Hercules checked another item off his to-do list, one bull at a time. The eighth labor of Hercules. Eurystheus decided to give our hero a real doozy of a task for his eighth labor. He sent him to fetch the man-eating horses of Diomedes. Now, let me tell you about these horses. These bad boys had a taste for human flesh. They belonged to the giant Diomedes, king of Thrace, who had a rather peculiar hobby of feeding strangers and prisoners to his beloved horses. But fear not, for Hercules had a plan. With the help of his trusty friend, Abderus, he snatched the horses from their stable. Together, they wrangled those ferocious beasts and hustled them down to the seashore. Of course, Diomedes and his cronies weren't too thrilled about the whole horse-napping situation. So Hercules left Abderus behind to keep an eye on the horses while he dealt with Diomedes and his goons. When Hercules returned, he was met with a heartbreaking sight. The horses had devoured poor Abderus, leaving Hercules shaken to the core. He mourned his friend's loss and gave him a proper burial, vowing vengeance for his untimely demise. True to his word, when Diomedes came sniffing around looking for trouble, Hercules made quick work of him and served him up as a meal for his own monstrous horses. Talk about poetic justice. Hercules loaded them onto his ship and set sail back to Eurystheus. But once again, Eurystheus wanted nothing to do with those terrifying creatures in his city, so he shipped them off to Olympus as a sacrifice to Zeus. But even mighty Zeus wasn't interested in these bloodthirsty beasts. Instead, he sent forth wolves and lions to dispatch them once and for all. Eurystheus had yet another daring task for our hero Hercules. This time, he sought a present to give to his daughter, the prized possession of the fearsome Amazon queen, Hippolyte, the one and only legendary belt given to her by none other than Ares, the god of war. Now, Hippolyte, with her trusty belt across her chest, was the top dog among the Amazons, a tribe of fierce female warriors who lived in the mystical realm of Themyscira. This belt wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a symbol of her unbeatable prowess in battle. And who better to retrieve it than Hercules? With his buddy Theseus by his side, Hercules set sail for Themyscira, ready to charm Hippolyte into handing over the prized belt. And what do you know? She agreed. No fuss, no fight. Things were looking up for our heroes. But, as always, where there's Hercules, there's Hera, the queen of the gods and master of mischief. She wasn't about to let Hercules off the hook that easy. So, she swooped down from Olympus in disguise, stirring up trouble among the Amazons, claiming Hercules was planning to kidnap their queen. Suddenly, what started as a peaceful negotiation turned into an all-out battle. Furious and feeling betrayed, Hercules did the unthinkable. He fought and killed Hippolyte, the very queen he came to see. In the chaos, he seized the belt and made a swift exit with Theseus by his side. Back in Mycenae, Hercules presented the belt to Eurystheus, completing yet another epic labor. Eurystheus got another task for Hercules. This time, it's a road trip to the end of the world. Why? 'Cause Eurystheus wants fancy cattle, owned by the monster Geryon. Now, this dude got 3 heads. And to make things even more interesting, he's got the 2-headed mean guard dog, Orthus, and a herdsman, Eurytion, to watch over his precious cattle. He sets off on his journey, crossing seas, blazing trails, you name it. But man, that sun, it's like a hot spotlight following him around. Hercules, being the hero that he is, ain't having none of it. So he takes out his trusty bow and tells the sun to chill out. Helios, the sun god, finds this hilarious and lends Hercules his golden cup as a boat. When Hercules finally reaches Geryon's crib, it's go time. Orthus charges at him with all 2 heads, but Hercules, being Hercules, knocks him out cold with one swing of his club. Then comes Eurytion, thinking he's got a chance. Nope, same fate. Now, here's where things get spicy. Geryon himself shows up, ready to throw down. They duke it out, arrows flying, and guess who comes out on top? Yep, you guessed it, Hercules, the ultimate beast battler. And that is how Hercules scored himself some legendary cattle and added another epic adventure to his resume. Eurystheus dropped another gruesome task on Hercules, snagging Zeus's golden apples. Easy, right? Wrong. These weren't your average apples. They were divine snacks, Gaia's wedding gifts to Zeus and Hera. Hera, who didn't want to see Hercules succeed. This would be an impossible task. Hercules' journey was no walk in the park. He had no clue where to find those elusive golden apples, so he set off on a whirlwind adventure across Libya, Egypt, Arabia, and Asia. But as luck would have it, trouble seemed to find him at every turn. First up, he crossed paths with Kycnos, the hot-headed son of the war god, Ares. Hercules didn't back down from a fight and sent Kycnos packing up to Hades. Next, he bumped into the old man of the sea, Nereus, who held the secret location of the garden. But Nereus wasn't exactly eager to spill the beans. He shapeshifted like a boss, trying to slip through Hercules' grasp. But our hero wasn't about to let him slip away that easily. After a game of aquatic cat and mouse, Nereus caved and spilled the beans. But the adventure didn't stop there. Antaeus, the son of Poseidon, tried to throw Hercules off his game by getting a power boost from Mother Earth herself. But Hercules wasn't fooled. He lifted Antaeus off the ground and squeezed the life out of him in a bear hug. Last but not least, Hercules crossed paths with Busiris, the king of Egypt, who had a twisted idea of hospitality. He thought sacrificing strangers would cure a drought. Hercules wasn't about to be anyone's sacrificial lamb, so he broke free and gave Busiris a taste of his own medicine. Then came the ultimate showdown. Hercules met Prometheus, chained to a rock, enduring the gruesome torment of an eagle feasting on his liver every single day. In a true act of heroism, Hercules vanquished the eagle and earned Prometheus gratitude. And guess what? Prometheus spilled the beans on how to get those golden apples. It involved a clever switcheroo with Atlas, the Titan with a celestial chiropractic problem. Hercules struck a deal with Atlas. He'd hold up the sky while Atlas fetched the apples. As predicted, who would willingly hold up the weight of the world if given the chance to grab some golden fruit? Atlas eagerly agreed to the task. But just as Atlas returned triumphantly with the golden, after Atlas got a taste of freedom, he cunningly proposed a trade. Hercules holds the sky and earth for him, while he delivers the prized fruit to Eurystheus. Hercules played along but asked Atlas whether he could take it back again, just for a moment, while the hero put a just position to bear the weight of the sky and the earth. Atlas put the apples on the ground and lift the burden back, and just like that, Hercules snagged the apples and hot-footed it back to Eurystheus, leaving Atlas wanting to kick himself. But here's the kicker. The apples couldn't stay with Eurystheus, being divine and all. So, Athena swooped in and reclaimed them, whisking them back to their celestial garden. Hercules may not have gotten to keep the golden loot, but hey, at least he got another wild adventure under his belt. Hercules was kicking butt and taking names, so Eurystheus, feeling like a sore loser, threw him the ultimate Hail Mary pass. The final task? Retrieve Cerberus from the depths of Hades, the three-headed hellhound who made vicious look like an understatement. Hercules set off to tackle this monstrous mine. First stop? Eleusis, where he joined some ancient rave called the Eleusinian Mysteries. Think glow sticks and chanting, but make it mystical. It was this wild, otherworldly party where they celebrated the myth of Demeter and her daughter Persephone, gearing up to face the terrors of the lower world. Then, with Hermes as his trusty tour guide, Hercules got the VIP tour of the underworld. Along the way, he stumbled upon his buddies Theseus and Pirithous, who found themselves in a sticky situation, with rock growing into their flesh as they sat on those cursed dungeon chairs. Hercules rescued Theseus, but Hades wasn't about to let Pirithous off the hook. Finally, Hercules asked Hades if he could take Cerberus, and surprisingly, Hades was cool with it, as long as he promised not to use any weapons. So Hercules wrangled Cerberus like a boss and took him all the way back to Eurystheus' doorstep. But when Eurystheus caught sight of Cerberus, he squealed like a coward and ordered Hercules to return Cerberus to the underworld. And just like that, with all the labors in the bag, Hercules got the ultimate prize, the Get Out of Mythical Tasks free card, plus an immortality. Who says hard work doesn't pay off?